Okay, we are back. I'm Mr. Waxler, here with the lovely and talented Andrea Kay, and the always interesting Mr. Al Arias.
Yes, he
and
is.
We have our next guest with us, an old friend of mine, Mr. Scott Stewart from California Estate and Elder Law. Welcome, Scott.
Hi. How are you guys?
Good, good. So tell us, I've known you for a few years, since before it was California Estate and Elder Law. Tell us what you do.
Oh, well...
and tell us if you've got any stories about Barry, since you've known him for
Well, there's a little thing called attorney-client privilege.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Can't reveal too many secrets.
Oh, well. All right, back to business.
So what do? I am an elder law attorney, and elder law is a subset of estate planning. And unlike traditional estate planning, we're principally concerned about dealing with and planning for eventual incapacity. I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, but our population is aging, and because it's aging, there's a significant demand or an increasing demand for help. I looked at a study recently that said every 10 seconds someone's turning 65 years of age, and a mere 2/3 of that population are going to wind up needing some form of long-term care assistance. So my practice that I've been working on in nearly 20 years has been almost exclusively devoted to solving that problem and managing all of those issues, and really helping people see that there is actually hope and a light at the end of the tunnel. And
right. Well, one of the things that I know that you do, because of our history together, is you help people not only plan things so their assets are showing in the right place to get what kind of aid, but you help them get into things like VA aid and attendance, other Medicaid or Medicaid, Medi-Cal.
Sure. Yeah. So elder law as a practice area is relatively new. As I practice, it's only been in existence since 1988. So it's very new. Not a lot of people understand it. Very complicated. And in my experience, I found the primary problem that seniors have is that they don't have a means to pay for care. Care is extremely expensive. In fact, I have a client of mine that died earlier this year that lived 10 years in a nursing home, and his outflows would have been $1.2 million.
Wow.
I've had clients of mine paying $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month out of their pocket.
Oh, dear.
And you're looking at a trajectory of 3 to 5 years or more paying those things, and it's devastating. Families don't have the ability to support those costs, and even more importantly, they don't have the ability to support those costs and have a spouse have any degree of security. So my office is set up to help people understand what their rights are, understand what their options are, manage all of that stuff, and in many cases that means acquiring and accessing benefits. And the benefit programs that we typically deal with are Medi-Cal and a VA program called Aid and Attendance, which is a non-service connected improved pension, which means it can be up to $2,400 a month of tax-free income in the right circumstances.
When you say non-service connected, what does that mean?
That means that you don't have to have been, you've got to be in the service, but you don't have to have been injured in the service. You just have to fit, you got to be a war veteran or a spouse of a war veteran, and 90 days in service, an honorable or anything other than a dishonorable discharge, you fit within the income and asset parameters, which you can fit into, and you qualify for this financial assistance, which for a senior citizen who's trying to live on a fixed income, an additional $2,000 a month can really make the difference between whether or not they can go home or stay home or not.
Absolutely.
And then we can build Medicaid, or here in California, Medi-Cal on top of that, where we can have services come into the home that can help pay for care, or we can pay for care in assisted living, or we can pay for care in a facility-based care. And the spouse that's been struggling to take care of, their husband, their wife that's been at home with Alzheimer's disease, and have financial assistance and physical assistance to help with that, and not have to go bankrupt, can really mean a significant difference.
It's amazing, and I have to throw a little kudos over to Scott. I met with Darby in his office just last week, because I'm struggling with that in my family. My dad is got full-time care at home now. He's been in and out of the hospital. I don't think we're going to, unfortunately, need to get the VA aid and attendance, because I don't think he's going to make it that far. But these guys are wonderful at helping out, and it's not the first time that they help me.
This is a widespread issue for people. I'm really surprised this is so recent in terms of a specialty of the law, and that there's not more people practicing it.
The dirty little secret with lawyers is we don't like to learn anything new. You look back over the history. Well, I mean, you look back over the history of any legal field, and they reach back in time, all the way back to merry old England in many cases, and saying, this is what the common law and statutory law and all the rest of this stuff says. The legislature in 1988 extended Medicaid to middle-class seniors specifically to avoid the problem that we're now confronting, which is that there's an insufficient amount of money in the system to do this. People haven't been planning ahead. They don't have a means to pay for it. They don't have long-term care insurance, which is probably a good idea for the folks that can afford it. They've never thought about these things. And as a result, Congress looked at this and said, we want to avoid having these families torn apart by this financial hardship, and so they extended benefits. Now, they've slowly been trying to chipping away and pulling back on that, but I couldn't do what I do today if it wasn't for 1988 legislation. So it's just the way it is.
Right.
Yeah. No. This is such a valuable piece of the law. Most people don't realize. A lot of people walk into it blindly and say, "Well, Medicare will take care of me," and Medicare takes care of the medical, the hospital, and the doctor. But they have what happens with Medicare is they have a nursing care benefit that's very limited for rehabilitation. And, they give you about 5 or 10 days in a nursing home for rehabilitation. Once you get beyond that, they downgrade it into a care that's not covered at all by Medicare. So you really need a guy like Scott to come in and help guide all this.
Right, particularly since, from what I understand, there's also regulations surrounding this with Obamacare and how hospitals are responding to issues like you're talking about, hospital stay. And so I would imagine you would be helping people maneuver through that as well.
They want you to die.
Right. No. Well, they don't want that necessarily, but a little bit. The issue.
Thank you, Grim Reaper, before Halloween.
Right. I mean, the real issue is that the healthcare reform law, Obamacare, if you will, is really designed as an extension of healthcare benefits for people who are under 65. They're trying to get us to get healthcare. Mm-hmm. If you're over 65, it really isn't designed to help us. And even more importantly, it's designed to deal with the acute care side, not the custodial care side. So if you are diagnosed with a condition like Alzheimer's disease, Medicare is not designed to pay for any of that.
None of it.
And you're looking at,
really?
if you're, as a senior citizen, you only have a 1 in 8 chance of having Alzheimer's, 1 in 6 chance of having some form of dementia, and you're more likely than not at that point going to wind up going to a facility for 6 years.
Now, speaking of facilities, a lot of people have the perception of, I don't have to worry about my parent when they get to a certain point where I can't take care of them. There's government-funded facilities everywhere we can put them in.
Well, okay, so that's another great misnomer. There really aren't any Medi-Cal state facilities. These are all private facilities that have made a decision that it makes sense to accept government benefits, just like they accept Medicare. Some facilities accept Medi-Cal as well, and in doing that, they'll allow for that continuity of care and allow people to receive the care they're entitled to.
And imagine what the care looks like when you're a facility that's forced into taking half of what your normal fees are.
Well, it's not half.
Care.
It's not half. That's the first bit. And the second bit, critically, is that there are 90 licensed skilled nursing facilities in the county. 78 of them take Medi-Cal. So it is the primary payment source. And in fact, if you look at statistics across the country, 70 to 80% of nursing home days are paid through the Medicaid program. It is the primary payment source for these facilities. So a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm going to get substandard care. Well, you know what? If you get substandard care, call me. I will sue the facility, and I won't have to work again because it is absolutely illegal under the law. The difference between long-term care insurance and qualifying for benefits is that you get more choice, right? I can have better choices or more options at home. I can have better and perhaps more choices in assisted living. And so I'm not advocating that necessarily everybody migrate into the Medicaid program. What I am suggesting is that people be empowered with information, that they start communicating their wishes, because one of the most shocking statistics that I've seen in recent years is that less than 10% of seniors have even had a conversation with their spouse expressing what they want to have happen. So we have this huge tidal wave of people coming in that are going to have this massive problem, and no one's talking about it. They don't have a means to pay for it. They haven't thought about it, and all of this needs to be incorporated into their plan.
Yep. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business here on Bloomberg Radio, KFSD AM 1450, streaming live on the web at financialnewsandtalk.com. Give us a tweet at CloseUpSD or find us on Facebook. We want to hear from you. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with my co-hosts Andrea Kay and Al Arias, and our guest is Mr. Scott Stewart from California Estate and Elder Law. So, you have one of the things that impressed me, which has happened since I've known you years ago. You brought on some new partners here. Tell us about who you're working with.
Well, my partners now are Joe Cesario and Steve Mancini, better known as Cesario Mancini. I love adding a lot of complexity to my life. And so over the course of this year, we moved the office that we were in for 15 years up into Scripps Ranch. I represent people of the state, but we moved where we do all of our processing, where I work out of it, up to Scripps Ranch to be closer to home. And shortly after the move, I got into a partnership with those gentlemen, and we now have a much more comprehensive solution set that we can provide to our clients. So it's a match made in heaven. It's a great relationship.
Great guys. I was on stage up in Newport Beach with Joe just about 2-3 weeks ago. So very, very, I'll just have to say for the listeners out there, one of the most knowledgeable firms in anything from estate and elder care that I have ever seen.
So,
yeah,
you don't give compliments out like that lately.
Right. They are very, very smart
Especially
when it comes to tax planning and the higher net worth clients. My bailiwick is really the solid middle class seniors and middle class families that are dealing with this stuff. So it really gives us a broad base and a comprehensive solution to deal with these problems that are going to be growing and coming.
But even Barry and I have a client that was affected in his family with elder care issues, and this client is very wealthy, and it all the ones that have bear the brunt. Mm-hmm. And so you have a family, there are multiple members, and everybody looks to
they say,
well,
hey,
you
got
the
deep
money.
Pockets,
But you know what? That family may be able to qualify because things
they were
because things like income do not disqualify you from qualifying for benefits. There are lots of exempt assets like IRAs and 401ks and business property and rental property in many cases in your home. No impact on eligibility. And so understanding those things can help you navigate what's going on. If you're married and your spouse needs help in a facility, you can keep hundreds of thousands, if not, I'm not bragging here, but we just had a decision come down on September 30th that says my client, the well spouse, can keep $1.7 million in cash and $6,000 a month in income pursuant to the federal regulations to allow her to stay home and take care of herself because she has needs, as does her husband. Now, I'm not advocating that someone with that amount of money should do that, but that's what the mandated algebraic formula says. So to say that you can't qualify or you don't understand the rules, again, I'm not necessarily advocating that people do this. What I'm advocating is that you be informed and begin to plan around your options and think about what your options are.
Give people the ability to make the intelligent decision.
The idea I was trying to express is access.
Right.
Because the question came to a professional, you need to see an elder care advisor, and the advisor was in there and found a way through the maze. Right. So somebody like Scott, middle-class people don't generally have access to great advisors.
Right.
And I have to tell you that, whether Scott likes this comment or not, he is quite affordable to the middle-class American, okay? And I know a lot of attorneys like to charge a lot of money. You've always been somebody that was out there to help people, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I feel, first and foremost, my obligations as a lawyer are to be an advocate and to educate people as to what their options are. Again, I want to stress again, I'm not necessarily advocating that anybody do anything in particular. What I am advocating that you do is communicate, understand what your options are, plan ahead, and really think about things. Because if you don't, someone else is going to do that for you, and in all likelihood, they're not going to do or not going to understand what you want to have happen, and that results in you kind of making a left turn.
Yep. Well, we're running out of time, so before we leave for break, let our listeners know how they can find you, web, phone, however you want to contact them.
The easiest way, my phone number is 619-282-1194. Simple. You can check us out on the web, estate-elderlaw.com, all one word. We'll help you out.
And it's never too soon, right? Yep. If you've got an aging parent or you're aging,
do you
want me to run long? Because we can go there. That's a whole topic in and of itself. When to do this work and how to do this work and what's important.
Bring him back.
Well, we'll bring you back, and in the meantime, people can contact you, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Great.
And ask that question.
Great. Scott, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Great. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get up close and personal with homegrown San Diego business and the people that are working hard to make a difference in our community. Send us a tweet at CloseUpSD or just find us on Facebook and let me know what you think. I'm your host, Barry Waxler. We'll be right back after the break from a word from our sponsors.